Hello, my name is John Broadwell, and I'm the creator of the Serial Wombat open source project, as well as an independent embedded systems consultant at my company Broadwell Consulting Incorporated. If you need help with an embedded systems project, look me up. Today we're going to be taking a look at an upgrade to the Saleae Serial Wombat Protocol high-level analyzer that we debuted a couple of years ago. If you look up at the top, there's a link to the previous video that will show you how to install this analyzer and also use it with an I2C bus talking to a Serial Wombat chip. I recently went on a cruise to the Caribbean, and during one of our days while we were waiting for the ship to dock, I spent some time by the window working on updating this to be able to work not just with I2C, but also with UART packets, which is important because the Serial Wombat 18AB chip is capable of communicating either by I2C or by UART. So we're going to take a look at this new upgrade. As you may have seen in the previous video, you can get the Serial Wombat Protocol Analyzer under Extensions, and you can say reload the extension to get your update, which will be available if you've already installed this previously. We're going to come over, today I'm using a lower grade version of the Logic Analyzer that goes with Saleae. It's actually a knockoff. You could say it says upgrade over here. I would highly recommend you do that. I'm using one as a spare because it's what I have available right now. My other one's in use on another project. So we have 8 channels available on this Logic Analyzer. You can't turn them on or off, but you can hide them. So I'm going to hide all of the channels except for channel 1 and channel 0, which we'll use to connect up. So let's take a look right now at the hardware we'll be using, including a prototype board. I covered what'll be in this upcoming board in a video that you can see right here. Hope to have that for sale on Amazon sometime late this summer or early in the fall. So our setup here is quite simple. We have a Serial Wombat 18AB chip that's plugged into a forthcoming development board that provides a CH340 chip, which does UART to USB conversion. And over here, I've got a knockoff version of the Saleae Logic Analyzer. My main Saleae is plugged in right now to another project, and I don't want to disconnect all of the wires that I've already set up over there, so I'm using this one. This one is not nearly as capable, can't do analog, but is good enough for UART communication. So over here, we've got a ground line coming from that into one of the ground pins on the Serial Wombat board. And we've got 2 channels. Channel 0 is on the Serial Wombat receive pin, so commands will come in through the UART and into the Serial Wombat chip. It will generate an 8-byte response that will come out of its TX pin, and that will go back through the CH340 and into the PC. So the commands are being monitored on channel 0. The responses are being monitored on channel 1. Okay, now that our analyzer is plugged in, we'll plug that in. Okay, both lines are showing high, which is good. That's the default idle version for UART. Let's rename these channels. One is the command, which goes into the Serial Wombat chip, and one is the response, which comes out of the Serial Wombat chip. Now we're going to want to add a couple of analyzers. We're going to add async analyzers, and we'll make our first one go to channel 0, which is the UART command, and say save. So now we have an asynchronous analyzer there, and let's add one more that we will put on channel 1. Okay, so that's good. Now, let's go over here and rename these. Command decoder and response decoder. Now we need Serial Wombat Protocol Analyzers to work with those. So let's add one of those. Unlike the I2C version, we're going to have to add 2 of them. One for the command and one for the response, because you can't have 2 separate inputs to a single high-level analyzer. So I'm going to choose the command decoder. That's this UART right here. And what Serial Wombat interface? This is a UART command. So I'll say save. Now I'm going to add a second Serial Wombat, and let's rename that SRPA command. I'm going to add a second Serial Wombat Protocol Analyzer, and this one will send to the UART response. Okay, so that should be ready to go. So let's hit go on that. And we will start the Serial Wombat panel application that was shown off in a previous video up here. And we'll say open serial. In this case, my Serial Wombat chip is on port 6. And so it's going to take a second. It's going to initialize it. And then it's going to read some data out of there. And there we go. Okay, it found it on COM6, firmware version 2.1.0, which isn't out yet. I'm still working on that. Unique ID, device ID, source voltage, temperature, blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look now at our analyzer and see if we got some protocol decoding. So we can see we've got, that's an initialization. That's not too interesting. Over here, you'll see a reset. Which does not get a response. It's one of a handful of commands that doesn't respond. Let's drag this protocol analyzer down so that the command is above the UART that sends commands and the response is above the UART that sends responses. This is the interesting part. We can see in here, okay, it asked for what is your version, and the Serial Wombat chip responded to the version command. I'm a model 18A. And my firmware version is 2.1.0. And then a variety of other packets. What's pin 75, which is one of our specialized ones? Maybe that's the voltage. And it responds back. Okay, here's the result of pin, or in that case, public data 75. Give me some information from your flash addresses. That's where the unique ID and whatnot are stored. So it's pulling out data from that. So we can see, I'm not going to go through all of this in detail, but you can see now you're perfectly capable of decoding a UART packet. And as before, if you're still using I2C, that's the wrong one. If you're still using I2C, then up here you would you would pick your I2C decoder from Saleae Here, and you would pick I2C as the Serial Wombat protocol interface. So that's about all we've got right now. If you're using this protocol analyzer, if you found it useful, or if you found what you think is a bug in it, then by all means leave me a comment below. If you like the video, and recommend you subscribe. This is where I release all of my new information that existing or prospective users of the Serial Wombat chip or project might be interested in. So until I talk to you next time, have fun, keep making stuff. The Serial Wombat firmware is available on GitHub and is constantly being updated. Subscribe below so that you can see the latest features and videos that come out as we fix bugs and add new features. The Serial Wombat open source project was created by Broadwell Consulting Incorporated. Broadwell Consulting Incorporated provides help developing medical devices with a focus on developing embedded firmware, which is compliant with IEC 62304, ISO 14971, and ISO 13485, as well as remediation assistance for products already in production. For more information, contact John at Broadwell Consulting. Support requests for Serial Wombat should be sent to help@serialwombat.com and will be answered on an as-available basis. Also, feel free to leave your question in the comments below.